perhaps even more interesting, is that Camp Grafton was specializing in training troops in explosives and demolitions at the time. When all was said and done, the security tapes reported to have captured the entire thing on video were rounded up and classified. In 2009, they were finally released, and magically none of them caught the bombing. The excuse being they were all having their tapes changed at that exact moment. This event would be labeled domestic extremism, which was used to demonize critics of world government, militias, and create fear within the populace.
All right, let's cut the clip right there. What did we just document there? We documented that Timothy McVeigh was on a military base over a year after he was supposed to be discharged. That military base is teaching demolitions and explosives. We learned that the ATF, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agents were tipped off prior to the bombing not to come to work. We learned that the bomb squad trucks were there 2 hours in advance. We learned that they took other bombs outside of the building. So what are you going to tell your friends when they come to you at the water cooler on Monday, okay, and say, man, I just saw that confession of Timothy McVeigh, and do you think that could happen again? Do you think this militia groups and these terrible terrorists and extremists the Southern Poverty Law Center is warning us about will strike again? And a lot of people are going to be suckered by that. That's why we have to have this counter information. And it's not just counter information, folks. It's the truth. It's the truth, is the truth, is the truth, is the truth. It doesn't matter if 5 people know it, 500 people, 5 million, or 5 billion. The truth remains the truth. So we're going to go to your calls on Invisible Empire, on the OKC bombing, on any subject you'd like. 888-201-2244. Let's go to, I can't even pronounce his name, in West Virginia. Starts with a C. You're on.
Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
That's how you say that. How you doing,
Okay.
Bermas?
Good.
Good movie.
Thank you.
Good movie. I've got a hot news tip for you here in West Virginia. I'd like to see if you guys could follow up on this. The West Virginia State Police are no longer using badge numbers, nameplates, license plates, or cruiser numbers. In effect, they're secret police.
And when did this
I've got
begin?
an inside... I'm sorry?
And when did this begin? And are you sure of this? You're saying it's
this year.
April 3rd. So there's no longer any numbers on squad cars is what you're telling me.
No numbers on squad cars, no license plates, no badge numbers for the officers. They were issued new badges, and they've been instructed not to wear their nameplates.
Well, let me ask you this, Cincinnati. Is there any, other than what you're telling me, are there any videos or photographs that I can double-check this, that we can post on InfoWars.com? In other words, has anybody approached some of these police cars or police officers? Because, you know, even if you have an inside source, I either need a mainstream article, and really not only just a mainstream article, but first-hand sources. West Virginia is a big state. And if you're listening to this and you're in West Virginia and this is the truth, I encourage you to go out there with a camcorder or a camera and document it. Have you seen any documentation on this?
I go to school. I'm a journalist for my school. I'm attempting to get the paperwork because it's Justice Department that's decided to do this from an inside source. They're really hesitant to give it up right now. They've just been transferred out of their position as a trooper because they didn't want to do this. I'm really trying to get this information out.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, just like I told you, Cincinnati, man, get me some kind of documentation. Either get me a document on it, a mainstream article, or what would be even better is some pictures and videos of these squad cars, of these police officers without badge numbers and names on there. And then we will do a story at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. You write that story, you send it to my Facebook page, you send it to Tips at Infowars, Rob D at Infowars.com. We'll try to get on that and get it out there. Let's go to our next caller. Let's go to George in Illinois. George, you're on the line.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yes,
Yes,
Jason, good film. I got one quick suggestion and then one little correction in your film.
Well, hold on, before you give me the corrections, George, let me finish before you give me the corrections. I messed up on Indonesia, well aware. It was India and Brick. I spelled Bernanke wrong, and I got George Bush's senior's presidency wrong. It was 41st, not the 43rd. I wish I was perfect. Even the guys that I do these films with didn't catch it. Those are the big 3 errors that people have found so far. I think they're minuscule. And obviously, they don't make a big deal in the broader picture, but go ahead.
Right. Well, I was just going to tell you about the whole Brick thing, but I see that you got it. It's no big deal.
Yep.
But it was a good movie. There's this book by a guy named Peter Lance called Triple Cross, How Bin Laden's Master Spy It's about this guy named Ali Mohammed. Have you heard of this man? Because I think he is kind of the key that connects.
You know, I've heard it, but here's my deal. I know who Peter Lance is. I've heard of this book many, many times. I've read certain subsections. I actually, in my film Fabled Enemies, took one of the Able Danger things was printed by Peter Lance that showed this entire Al-Qaeda group, some of the things that Able Danger had put out there. I used that in Fabled Enemies. My problem is he comes at it as the perspective that this guy is absolutely a triple agent. Well, how do we know he's not working for rogue U.S. or Anglo-American sources? Hangover, we'll go back to you. 888-201-2244. I'm Jason Bermas. It's the InfoWarrior. Get the DVD, Invisible Empire, at Infowars.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas, and we are living in a modern-day Babylon society where the majority of people are blinded, mesmerized, and hypnotized by the mainstream media and meaningless baubles. We are joined by Alex Jones on the line. Alex?
Yeah, Jason, I'm just driving home listening to you on the local station, and I want you to be able to go back to your callers. But I just wanted to point out, you talk about blinded by Babylon. What's going on here is the world's so complex that even when we research this 24/7, it's hard for us to keep track of all of it. Just imagine the general public, how unaware they are of what's happening. But I heard the caller from West Virginia. We've seen this transfer the last decade or so all over the country. They started with small units, now larger units, riot police, you name it. No badge number, no ID, unmarked cars. They're now having police drive their own vehicles and then paying them a per diem to pay for it so the public can't notice them and can't see them. This is the essence of secret police as they convert us to this new world order system. It's like I talked about during my show today, how I confirm they've got Mexican troops in the U.S. killing people under U.S. authorization. So all of that is going on. That's the whole point, is that you've got these big organized groups funded by the big banks with trillions of dollars. I mean, my God, we pay $900 billion a year in income tax, and the Pentagon's $1.8, $1.9 trillion. That's what Eisenhower in '61 warned about. It's the total takeover of society that Invisible Empire covers. I'm going to let you go and keep listening, let you get back to your calls, but I wanted to back up what that caller was saying. But tell them, yes, get it documented. Get it up on a blog. Do a YouTube video. Get it out there. Don't just count on us to get it out. We're overwhelmed. Everybody needs to get everything that's happening in your area out on YouTube. People say, well, why do you use YouTube? It's over half the video views and downloads out there. That's what the battle's going on, to get it out everywhere today, ladies and gentlemen, and get Invisible Empire on DVD at InfoWars.com. Police State for the Rise of FEMA that's premiering coming up this Wednesday at PrisonPlanet.tv and now shipping out on DVD. Get it out to everybody who approves the FEMA camps. We're in an info war. It's a life and death situation. Bermas, great job.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. And we are in an information war. And when somebody calls in about police not having to show their badge numbers, this really isn't anything new, this type of tyranny. Let me give you an example. In smaller towns, police have gone, I'm not giving you a badge number. They just whip out their mace or the cuffs. We'll take you downtown right now. But that tyranny is now being reinforced at a federal level. The federales don't want their local police forces to be accountable. They don't want them to have license plate numbers. They don't want them to identify a cruiser that's involved. Because you might not be able to go up to the cops and say, hey, what's your badge number? But you can get the cruiser car number and say, I couldn't believe it when these cops pulled over, got their nightsticks out, and started beating this guy on the side of the street. He hadn't done anything. So hopefully we can get a story up about that in the next couple of days. But the more documentation we have, the more power we have in the info war, and the more power we have in swaying people's minds away from the propaganda. I'm going to go back to George in Illinois. Now, he was talking about Triple Cross and Peter Lance and all these multi-level agencies, rogue agencies. You look at, for instance, the attacks in Mumbai, and it comes out that one of the guys has a CIA paid-for cell phone, and then all of a sudden, oh, it was headed up by a U.S. rogue agent. That's part of their cover. And, George, the reason that I am wary of some of the research by Peter Lance is that about 5 or 6 years ago, Coast to Coast covered the topic for the very first time. And they had a 4-hour roundtable with Peter Lance, Alex Jones, David Ray Griffin, and I cannot remember who the fourth person was off the bat. And Peter Lance was just so apologetic. He couldn't talk about an inside job. He refused to talk about Building 7. There's no way there was a controlled demolition. And he was limited hangout on almost every subject matter. Now, does that mean for me that I won't check out his material? No, I've used some of his material. But in my mind, what I've seen with Triple Cross, it's nowhere near as good as, say, a Sander Hicks's The Big Wedding. Have you read that one, George?
What? The big what?
The Big Wedding.
No, I haven't read that one.
I would extremely recommend The Big Wedding by Sander Hicks, because although we touch upon it in Invisible Empire, how U.S. covert agencies funded the Mujahideen and bin Laden through BCCI banking network, we just barely graze upon that during the Iran-Contra section and the Iran-Contra scandal. However, Sander Hicks does a great job in fleshing out that BCCI role, fleshing out the Mujahideen role, fleshing out the Muslim Brotherhood. And it's a shorter book. It's about 200 pages. I can't recommend it enough. Please go check that out, George, and then tell me what you think, and we'll talk about it on the air some other time.